Hello, this is Russ from Global Skywatch. Just came across this on the Global Skywatch Facebook news feed here that there's an emergency services major disaster. So many ambulances were called out in Melbourne, Australia, that they had to call on third parties to come and help people in this event where during this mass thunderstorm, there was a mass asthma event where so many people were having respiratory issues that they actually ran out of ambulances. When I see a story like this, it just makes me really want to share my experience about chemtrails and being able to smell and taste chemtrails, which makes it really important for me because I have a sense of responsibility that I need to share what I know so that hopefully we can get more scientists and more politicians and more lawyers involved in what's really going on here. Very quickly, whenever a thunderstorm, I live in Maine, and whenever a thunderstorm is coming through the Maine area, about 12 hours, and this sometimes fluctuates a little bit, but roughly 12 hours before that thunderstorm moves through, we start getting hit with an intense aerosol in the air that I call the iron aluminum type. And I actually have come to believe that it's probably barium salts. It has a slightly salty taste to it. It's very metallic, and I can't identify it as any particular metallic taste. You know, you can identify metallic taste if you've gone in a machine shop and they were grinding iron, or you drank from water from a rusty pipe, or you're grinding aluminum, and that dust gets in the air and it has a flavor, and you remember that flavor that sticks with you. And for those of us who have a very extremely sensitive sense of taste and smell, you remember those things. And metals generally don't have a smell so much as a sensation in your nose, but they do have very strong taste to them, to those of us who are sensitive. And so before these fronts come through the Bangor, Maine area, they generally, you can see the storms. Like, for instance, if it's coming down from Canada, it's coming from the northwest, you will see these massive aerosol area, this whole area where the storm just dissipates. And in fact, what they tend to do is they tend to spray really heavily so that the storm quite a ways north of Bangor continues to move through, and then down to about the Portland area, you'll see another edge of the storm go through, but the center area of the storm will just vaporize in central Maine as it comes towards the Bangor area. It just vaporizes. It splits in two. I've seen this go on over and over and over again for years, and because I can smell and taste it, I know that they're nucleating. In fact, I don't even need to look at the radar. I can, when that particular chemtrail type, which I call the iron aluminum type only because I can't definitively define what metal it is that we're tasting, but when that type is sprayed, invariably when I look at radar, there's a front within about 12 hours of coming through this area, and they're hypernucleating. Now, of course, the purpose for hypernucleating is you put so many condensation nuclei into the air that the storm front no longer drops an appreciable amount of precipitation. You can actually stop a storm from dropping precipitation, or you can greatly reduce the amount. And this is the reason I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that the state of Maine has been in a drought for years now. In fact, one of the two wells that I have actually dried up. And even though we've had some rainfall, of course, we've been mentioning this for the last few weeks, and suddenly now we have a number of storms that came through and dropped kind of a trivial amount of precipitation. Really doesn't even come close to making up for the deficit we've had for years. But it's just kind of ironic we start to mention this, and then all of a sudden the rain comes through. Just like the California drought, as the public became more and more aware of the hypernucleation that was going on off the coast of California in the Pacific, you could watch them hypernucleate the air. Then the storms would go right over California and they would dump in the Midwest. And you have this tremendous drop of rainfall, damaging property, killing people, just creating havoc in the Midwest. But you could see that this was all related to the ongoing aerosol injection programs. So I'm just trying to raise awareness about this because I have seen this happen so many times where I see the people around me get sick or have breathing issues, have pain in their joints or muscles, get migraines, feel narcoleptic, very tired, sleepy, fatigued for no known reason. And it's so often associated with the thunderstorms that come through this area. Now, that's not to say that there aren't many other chemtrail types. I've written an article about the different chemtrail types that do exist. and there's different chemicals. They taste different. They react differently in the body. They cause a different set of symptoms, although many of the symptoms do overlap. But nevertheless, I did want to address this emergency services article here that has appeared in stuff.co.nz, apparently a New Zealand-based publication. But this came across the news feed, and they ran out of ambulances, could not handle the medical needs of so many of these people because it was just a massive event. They don't really have an explanation. They have this really silly explanation about the high humidity with pollen, and that's the best that they can do right now. But they do admit that they really can't explain what's happened here. What I would like to see happen, and I would like to strongly encourage this, because how many people suffer and die from aneurysms or from heart attacks or the other things that we know that the metals that we are detecting in the rainwater or in dirt samples or in dust samples in huge amounts cause. I would love to see people test the rainwater or conduct other tests of the air and understand that these particulars are too small to be caught by HEPA filters. So if you're using a traditional capture device that actually filters the air and then takes the resulting dust over a short period of time, you're probably going to get very, very low readings, or you're not going to detect these exotic metals at all that shouldn't be there. It's either a long-term test that you need to conduct so that the particles finally do begin to build up once the filter becomes a little bit fuller, because the particulates are too small. They go right through HEPA filtration devices. But I would like to see some testing done. Would love to see what people come up with in the rainwater to get a real explanation of what is going on here and what is being done to us in this extremely rare event that they're admitting they really don't know what the cause is. I know for years I have suffered as fronts have come through the Bangor area with all of the symptoms, all of the pain, the headaches, and all of the symptoms that I cause as a particularly sensitive person, and many other people who I've spoken to as well. This is not just me. Hundreds and hundreds of people have written, called, or contacted me one way or the other and told me about their experiences smelling and tasting chemtrails and how it affects them and how it is associated with certain events like rainfall. Some of the particularly heavy episodes are associated with incoming storms and the nucleation, the hypernucleation of these storms that come through. So you can just go on the radar and watch them dissolve, a couple hundred miles out from the Bangor area. They just dissolve. And I know why. I mean, it just makes complete sense when you look at the situation. We need scientists. We need lawyers. We need people who care about this. We need people who can smell and taste this to come forward and start making video blogs or contact me and do a short interview with me for 5 minutes and just share your story. We need to get this out because this is not a mysterious or magical phenomenon. This is something that is measurable, that we can quantize, that we can find the source of, and based on the fact that I can smell and taste it, this is in the venue of science because this is an observation. This is not some speculation. The fact that for years now I could predict when a storm front is coming through our area within about 12 hours out because of the intense, very intense. This is not something I reach for or imagine. This is an extremely intense taste and smell that causes physical symptoms in me and in people around me consistently for years, time after time again. This is observation. This is witnessing an event. This is not speculation. We want an explanation, and we want people to become, especially our governments who have been just closed ears and giving us form letters, explaining away with silly explanations these phenomena that are going on. So please, get involved. It's up to you. This is not going to be stopped by government. It's going to be stopped when a few million people finally decide to get involved and get angry enough and realize that their uncle's heart attack and their daughter's asthma and their friend's aneurysm and their other friend's stroke and so many of these illnesses can be induced. Not to mention the fact that your life is shortened by the increase of aerosols. The smaller the aerosol and the more numerous the aerosol in the air, the more it shortens your lifespan. That's a scientific fact. Please get involved. We'll see you next time. And please share and subscribe our video blog videos and playlists. Thank you.